the rainfed farmers are very important. The reason being that India has both irrigated systems and rain-fed systems. Now, over the last 70 years since independence, India has focused a lot on strengthening its irrigation infrastructure through major, medium and minor irrigation projects. Apart from this, we also focused on harvesting the water through small irrigation facilities like water harvesting structures, lakes and ponds. Notwithstanding this, there has also been more emphasis in a way on groundwater. Today, while we have nearly 48 to 49% of the net cultivated area under irrigation, 60% of that comes from groundwater. Now, outside this system, we have nearly 52 to 53% of the net cultivated area, which is described as rain-fed, which means that this particular swathe of land does not have access to dependable source of water, irrigation, and it depends upon monsoons for its cultivation. If we, as I was talking about the 60% of the groundwater, which is also not dependable and in a way it is linked to monsoons, then the extent of area under rain-fed systems will further go up. Under the rain-fed systems, what you see today, that not only is there a high percentage of farming community, but they also suffer from low productivity. And the productivity is a function of water, which is a very critical input. If water is available, then other inputs can also be intensified. That means you use better seeds, you use better nutrition management, and then you try to also increase the cropping intensity, which means that you can take more than one crop in a given year. Today, absence of water as a dependable source of irrigation for the crop husbandry is actually compromising the ability to use the land as efficiently and as effectively as it is possible under irrigation system. And when we talk about the growth of agriculture in India, we are also talking about its horizontal spread, which means that we encompass all farmers under all endowment regions, under all agroclimatic conditions. Therefore, the rain-fed systems assume a greater importance today in order to bring them at par with the farmers under the irrigation systems. And the farmers as a whole need to be brought up at par with other classes of professionals, as farmers themselves are suffering from low incomes in our country. So it is not only absolute, but it is also relative. It is therefore very critical that, given the government's vision of improving the welfare of the farmers, we bring higher importance or critical importance on the rain-fed systems and improve the potential realization. The full potential of India's agriculture will be realized only when all regions of the country, under all systems, are addressed, and all classes of people are addressed, and all subsectors of agriculture, which means not just crops, but also horticulture, fisheries, animal husbandry, dairy, aquaculture, which are all very critical subsectors of agriculture, are brought into the focus, and we maximize the potential that exists in them. If we are now talking of public sector investments in rain-fed agriculture, its importance comes from the fact that normally so far the focus being on irrigated systems, on green revolution technology, there has been better infrastructure in those areas compared to the rain-fed systems. If we make a comparison over the last 70 years, we will find that there is a huge gap between the investments made in the irrigated systems versus the rain-fed systems. Let us say irrigation itself. Government of India, the state governments have made huge investment in building irrigation infrastructure. And then we are providing that irrigation almost at a concessional rate and sometimes freely in some states. Then we also provide freely the power or at a very reasonable rate of levy of electricity fee. Now this all goes into irrigation systems. What happens to the rain-fed farmer? Just because he does not get irrigation, he does not get good seeds, then he does not get fertilizer subsidy, he does not get MSP-based procurement subsidy, so he stands to lose on every count. What we therefore now need to do is increase the public investment there, improve the road connectivity. The nature of investments though will change. Since we can't provide them a lot of water due to the absence of water availability, we need to, for example, take up watershed guideline, watershed development. A new approach to comprehensive watershed development is what is very important. We need a new approach to springshed development. A springshed development is in the hilly regions. Let's take, for example, the Himalayan region where we had around 6 million number of springs, but over a period of time at least 3 million have got dried up. Even those are rain-fed areas. We need to revive those things. So we need to make investments for the rain-fed crops, which are normally millets, which are also dryland horticulture, like mango, for example, or tamarind, amla, then guava. These are the kind of crops that come up in the rain-fed areas. Sheep and goatry, buffalo are very important for rain-fed areas. The facilities required to promote these kind of activities. ILI, Livelihood Index, Natural Resource Index and Composite Index, we have ranked all the rural districts of the country. So now, we are now focusing on only the rural districts, not the urban districts, because in the urban districts, say like Bangalore or Mumbai or Delhi or Kanpur, there is no agriculture there. We are more concerned about agriculture and other kinds of drought-related aspects. Out of around 720 districts that we have today, we have identified 670 districts as rural and agriculturally predominant districts. And all these 670 now have been ranked from 1 to 670 in terms of these three indices. Now, this is very important because we are looking at not only drought proofing based on the vulnerability to natural resource index. We also hope that different developmental ministries, both at Government of India level and the state level, will be able to use this prioritization for making their respective interventions. Let us say matters relating to education or health, which are social indicators. Based on the ILI, depending upon where a particular district is ranked, the department like a women and child development or an education, a human resource can make interventions. Or a Ministry of Rural Development which wants to implement, say, watershed development can look at ranking based on composite index. Or if a forestry department wants to simply look at agroforestry or afforestation or regeneration of degraded forest, they can look at only the ranks based on natural resource index. So I would emphasize that these three indices are important depending upon the kind of interventions we want to make for development, and different ministries both at union level and the state level can use these rankings to prioritize their interventions. So far as NARA is concerned, where we are more concerned about drought proofing, we would focus on using composite index because we strongly believe that it's not just the natural resource base, but it is also the capability of the human resource or the status at which they are, which matters in actually offering them resistance against the vulnerability. To the question whether we need a specialized or dedicated policy for the rain-fed agriculture system, my emphatic answer is yes. We always had agriculture policies tailored for the country and also at the state level. Now, within the broader agriculture system, the rainfed area system being a vast region and a region that is left behind, where the full potential has not been utilized yet, is now in need of a dedicated policy within the larger policy of agriculture. When I say within the policy of larger agriculture, there will be a lot of commonalities between the two systems, but the rainfed systems have their unique features in terms of its climatic pattern, in terms of agroecological areas, and therefore the kind of crops we can grow, the kind of animal husbandry that can be promoted, the kind of secondary agriculture that can be practiced there. There will be specialized needs which are unique to that region, and therefore the kind of research, the kind of technology promotion, advocacy, the kind of agronomic practices, the kind of processing facility, the kind of marketing connectivity, the kind of knowledge that we need to transfer, the vulnerabilities in terms of weather or in terms of pests and diseases are all very unique to a rainfed region. If we need to focus on these things, we need a dedicated policy for the rainfed agriculture. So we need to bring in different institutions, whether within the ICAR system or the agriculture university system or the NGOs, or even those centers like food and technology based institutes within the CSIR system, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. They are located in different organizations. So everybody who can actually contribute to scaling up the growth process within the rainfed systems must come together. Let's say we've got Indian Institute of Horticulture Research in Bangalore, or we have got an oilseed research center in Kanpur, or we have National Dairy Research Institute in Karnal. So all these different agencies which are spread across the length and breadth of the country, they all have to come together. Within the rainfed regions, I told you, there are also many species which are forest-based species, like say lac cultivation is there, which only a forestry research institute knows about lac cultivation. So we need to bring different people with specialized knowledge together, translate that into a transferable knowledge so that it is easily understood by the farmers or even the landless agricultural labor, and then they are able to move forward.